Hey Sparkies, I'm glad to be back with you this week. I enjoyed Mrs. Caitlin's lesson about choices. The Israelites had a choice to make about obeying God and keeping His commands, and we have the same choice today. 2 weeks ago, we talked about Joshua and Caleb. They were 2 of the 12 spies who went into the promised land to check it out. It was Joshua and Caleb who trusted God's promise and encouraged the Israelites to enter the land. We know that Joshua became the leader of the Israelites after Moses died. And Mrs. Caitlin told you last week about Joshua reminding the leaders and the people of Israel about all the things God had done for them, how God had helped them defeat their enemies and win battles and gave them the land that He promised them. But whatever happened to Caleb? Well, let's finish out this part of the Bible history by learning more about him. So when the spies returned from their mission, it was Caleb who said, "Let us go up at once and occupy it, for we are well able to overcome it." The Israelites decided not to enter the promised land, and as a result, Joshua and Caleb were the only adults alive at that time who entered the promised land. And listen to what God Himself said about Caleb. So I am reading from Numbers chapter 14 and verse 24. And it says, "But my servant Caleb, because he has a different spirit and has followed me fully, I will bring into the land into which he went, and his descendants shall possess it." Well, that is quite a word spoken about Caleb by God. Caleb has followed me fully. Now, it's pretty easy to have faith in God when everything's going great. But so many times when things get tough, we give in to fear instead of still trusting God. But Caleb understood that they would not be entering the land God promised them by themselves. God was going to be with them every step of the way. 40 years passed between the time of the spy mission and the time the Israelites began to take the land God promised them. Caleb is now about 80 years old. There were several battles with the people who were currently living in those lands. And then the day came when Joshua was dividing up the land among the 12 tribes of Israel. So Caleb goes to see his old friend and fellow spy Joshua. And in the book of Joshua, in chapter 14, verses 10 through 12, we read what Caleb said to Joshua. He said, "And now, behold, I am this day 85 years old. I am still as strong today as I was in the day that Moses sent me. My strength now is as my strength was then for war and for going and coming. So now give me this hill country of which the Lord spoke on that day. For you heard on that day how the Anakim were there, with great fortified cities. It may be that the Lord will be with me, and I will drive them out, just as the Lord said." Now, if we listen to just Caleb's words without knowing his heart, this can sound a bit like bragging. "I'm Caleb. I'm 85 years old. I'm as strong as I ever was. Give me the land God promised because I'm going to go take it." 45 years earlier, when God told Moses to send the spies, God said it was the land that He is giving to the people of Israel. Caleb was one of the spies, and he had seen the land for himself. He was ready to go because he knew God was with them. Caleb was boldly ready to take his 85-year-old self and go take down the Anakim people who lived there. But it was a boldness that came from finally having the opportunity to complete what God had promised 45 years earlier. Caleb isn't bragging about his own strength, but from the bold faith that he has that God will keep His promises. I want to be like Caleb, boldly trusting God every day. Now, Mrs. Caitlin will be back with you next week teaching a lesson about one of my favorite verses. I'll see you later, Sparkies.